Welcome to today's English class. Today we are going to master how to use these three tricky prepositions at, on, and in to talk about time because we can use these three prepositions to talk about place too. So let's start with the most specific word, at. We use this preposition when we mention vocabulary that refers to exact point or exact time. For example, use at for a single specific point in time. Look at the examples we have here. First one, the meeting is at 10:30 a.m. So always when you mention the time of an action, you can use the preposition at. Example, she leaves work at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. And the last one, the fireworks begin at midnight. There are many words that are similar to the word midnight. For example, the word midday and noon. Midday and noon referred to 12 p.m. and midnight refers to 12 a.m. We can also use the preposition at with the word lunch, at lunch time, at breakfast time or at breakfast, at night, at bedtime, and also at dinner. So I'm gonna call you at dinner, or I need to go to the supermarket at noon. Let's continue now checking this preposition in some examples with a little more context. Here we have the first dialogue. It says meeting time. So person A says, "What time is the class this evening?" And person B says, "It starts at 7 p.m. Exactly. Don't be late." "Hey, what time is the class this evening?" And person B says, "It starts at 7 p.m. exactly. Don't be late." Let's see the second example, which is about daily routine. Person A says, "I always feel sleepy at 11 p.m. Person B says, "Me too. My alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m. every day." Let's proceed now with the preposition on. This preposition, we can use it in different situations. The first situation is when we mention the days of the week. I mean the weekdays. So here it says, use on for specific days of the week, or the word weekdays, which is the same. Example number 1. We have our live stream on Friday. The office is closed on Saturday. And the last example says, I'm busy on weekdays, Monday to Friday. So always when you're going to mention the days of the week in your sentences, use the preposition on. I go to the gym on Monday. I didn't buy the things on Saturday. My mom called me on Friday, etc. Let's practice a little more with this preposition, checking some dialogues. The first dialogue is about day planning. Person A says, "Can we have the call on Tuesday instead of Monday?" Person B says, "Yes, I'm free on Tuesday, but not on Monday." Let's do it again. Can we have the call on Tuesday instead of Monday? And person B says, yeah, I'm free on Tuesday, but not on Monday. Let's see the second example in context about repetitive action. Person A, what do you usually do on Saturdays? Person B says, I go hiking on Saturdays and relax on Sundays. Person A, what do you usually do on Saturdays? And person B says, I go hiking on Saturdays and relax on Sundays. So let's continue here learning a little more about the preposition on. We also use this preposition when we mention dates, complete dates. For example, it says here, rule, use on for complete dates, including the day and the number. For example, her birthday is on September 22nd. September, and later you mention the number, the day, 22nd. Second example, the party is scheduled on May 3rd in 2026. The party is scheduled on May 3rd, 2026. The third example says the new quarter begins on April 1st. The new quarter begins on April 1st. So in these three examples, we can see complete dates. September 22nd, May 3rd, April 1st. Let's proceed now checking some more examples in dialogues. Dialogue number 1 is about events. So person A says, when is the project deadline? Person B answers, it must be submitted on the 15th of November. When is the project deadline? Person B answers, it must be submitted on the 15th of November. This, on the 15th of November, is the British way to say the dates. Is the British way. Because the American way is different. We mention first the month and later we mention the day. For example, it must be submitted on November 15th. Let's see the second example about memory. Person A says, did the band play a concert on July 4th? Hey, did the band play a concert on July 4th? And person B says, I think they played on September 11th last year. I think they played on September 11th last year. So, this is the second situation in which we can use the preposition on. So far, we have learned that we can use the preposition on when we mention weekdays, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday. And the second is when we mention complete dates, the month and the number. On September 11th, on November 2nd. Another thing that I would like to mention, and isn't here at the moment, but I am sure I have this for later in the lesson, is that we use the preposition on with holidays or special days that refer to a specific day. For example, birthday, on my birthday. When is my birthday? On September 4th, or on November 2nd, or on May 14th. Yeah? So, on my birthday, because birthday refers to a specific date, complete date. For example, on the Children's Day, on the Father's Day, etc. Let's continue now with the next preposition, which is in. This preposition, we use it when we are talking about time in different situations. This is the first. When we mention months in our sentences, when we mention years, and also seasons. For example, my course ends in December. December is a month, so I can say I will travel in June. My sister is gonna graduate in September. My mother's birthday is in August. We mention just the month. The second example says she was born in 1995. Here we are saying, or we mention a year in 1995. My daughter was born in 2001. The last example that we have here says we go on vacation in the summer. This is a season. So you can say in summer, in winter, in fall or autumn. Here we can see some examples in context, in dialogues to understand that a little more. The first one says future plans. Future plans. The person A says, when will you launch your app? And person B says, hopefully in the first quarter of 2026. So we can also say in decades, in 5 minutes, in 2 days, in a year. And here in this dialogue, we are saying also in the first quarter of 2026. The second example says historical event. So person A says, did that huge blizzard happen in January? Did that huge blizzard happen in January? And person B says, no, it happened in the middle of winter. In the middle of winter. We also use in to when we mention the day part. I mean, when we mention morning, afternoon, and evening. So we say, example number 1, if I like to drink coffee in the morning, I like to drink coffee in the morning. Example 2, let's meet for lunch in the afternoon. Let's meet for lunch in the afternoon. And the last one says, the broadcast airs in the evening. Or I'm gonna go in the evening. I'm gonna go to the gym in the evening. Or I love visiting my parents in the evening. So this is all about in. Something super important is that it says here, we say at midnight or at midnight. So we say at night, at midnight, at noon, at midday. And with the others, we use in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, at night. This is the way you say these words in English. Why? There isn't any explanation exactly about this. These are just rules we need to memorize and we need to follow. Here we have something important. So let's see the first. At versus in. In parentheses, we have part of day. We use in for morning, afternoon, and evening, but at for night. This is something important that we must remember always. Example, I study in the morning, but I relax at night. The second example we need to remember always is this. At versus on for holidays. We use at for the general holiday period, but on for the specific day. So let's pay attention to this. We exchange gifts at Christmas, but we eat dinner on Christmas Day. For example, with Christmas, we say at Christmas because because Christmas lasts, yes, several days. It is a festivity that lasts several days. And if you mention Christmas Day, of course, we must use the preposition on. That's all. Here there are other exceptions that we must pay attention. For example, the word weekend we have two different ways to use the word weekend. At the weekend is standard British English. So this is common in British English. At the weekend. On the weekend is American English. Is more common. This is commonly used in the USA. Example, USA, I'll see you on the weekend. UK, I'll see you at the weekend. With the word vacation, we also use this preposition on, always. This is a combination we have with this word, on vacation. So, and also on holiday is something that we must memorize. Why? There isn't any explanation for this. We need to memorize this combination. So it says, when talking about being away, use on. Example, she is on vacation until Friday, not in vacation. I usually visit my parents on vacation. I like staying at home on vacation, on holiday. Holiday is a British word. A vacation is the American word. So far we have learned many things about these prepositions at, on, and in to talk about time. Let's do now a short quiz to check our memory and our understanding about these three tricky prepositions. The first point in this quiz is my grandma was born 1945, which was the middle of the 20th century. So here, think about what the preposition is. I'll give you some seconds. My grandmother was born in 1945, which was in the middle of the 20th century. 20th century. Second example in this short quiz is the team will finish the big report Tuesday, 5 p.m. and send it out the evening. The team will finish the big report. Tuesday is a weekday, so we say on Tuesday, 5 p.m. at 5 p.m. and send it out in the evening. Let me show you. On Tuesday at 5 p.m. in the evening. Next example, I always visit my family Christmas, but the main party is always Christmas Day. I always visit my parents at Christmas, but the main party is always on Christmas Day. The next example is the famous concert took place a rainy day, July 14th. The famous concert took place on a rainy day. Why we say on? Because we say they. On day. Yeah? Day. On a rainy day on July 14th. July 14th is a complete date. And the last one is the train usually arrives the station night, but tonight it's running late. The train usually arrives. In this case, this example is about place, but we will see this later in a different lesson. So here we are going to say at the station at night, but tonight it is running late. So this was the end. This was the lesson for today. Now we know when we can use the prepositions at, on, and in to talk about place. At for a specific time, words that refer to a specific time. At noon, at lunch, at breakfast, at night, at bedtime, at Christmas. And the preposition on for weekdays, on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, complete dates, on September 1st, on December 2nd, etc. Also with the word weekend, on the weekend. And also for holidays and special days that refer to a specific day. For example, on my birthday, on our anniversary, on my graduation, and on vacation. And the preposition in, when we mention years, in 1995, 1994, in 2024, 2025. And when we mention the parts of the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and also for seasons and periods of time, in winter, in summer, in the spring, in 2 minutes, in 3 days, in X century, decades, etc. This is all for today. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you have learned so much about these 3 tricky prepositions. Bye!